All right, welcome back to our financial independence series. We are in video number 2, step number 2. So hopefully you got to see the first video, which our first step is to know your income. Now, once you know your income, it's important to take the next step, which is to know your expenses.
Yes, correct. So that would be the next step, is to know your expenses. The first step is to know your income on a monthly basis. The second step, know your expenses on a monthly basis. Now, if that means pull out a credit card, your credit card statement, pull out your bank statements, and any other statements that you potentially do have, and write down all your expenses that you have, that you've occurred in that month. Once you write down your expenses in that month, you can then start categorizing all them. So if it's gas, if it's entertainment, if it's food, if it's eating out, if you have
utilities.
Exactly. Start categorizing everything, and that's where we can start figuring out of your going on to the third step, which is setting up your budget. But we want to know what your expenses are before we can go on to the next couple of steps.
And I'm sure with knowing your expenses, it can seem like a really overwhelming thing to do, but I would assume that once you have it down for 1 month, there's just some tweaks that you need to make. So if you put in the work up front, as you continue to go and move forward in your financial independence, those expenses and that putting that together doesn't seem nearly as overwhelming because you've laid that foundation down.
Right, that is correct. That is correct. And the other one thing I do want to mention in there is you potentially might have a yearly expense. So if you are paying for insurance, like a house insurance, you might be paying that on a yearly basis. Make sure you kind of write that in there as well. And then eventually we can divide that by 12, break it out on what our expenses would be roughly then for the 12 months.
Yeah,
so
that sounds like a great way to account for everything that could come up during the year and kind of breaking it into that monthly manageable piece.
Right, correct.
What I love about these tips too is that not only is it so applicable to you and your personal journey, but for us as business owners, what a great tip for even us to look at when we're starting a business is to make sure that you know these things. So it can be applied in multiple levels, which is phenomenal.
Right,
So
exactly.
All right, so now that you know your income and you know your expenses, join us in video number 3 where we tackle the next step of setting up a budget.